Did you guys hear that Marvel bought the rights to Superman? Did you hear that news?
No.
April Fool's, Marcus.
You didn't quite get me there.
I got you, Marcus. You said you didn't hear.
Jesus was the original X-Man, according to a certain part of their canon, like the 616, whatever that means.
Yeah.
Jesus was the original X-Man.
Incredible.
Dun 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 dun. Hey, look, it's Jesus Christ. Hey, look, it's Jesus Christ. Hey, look, it's Jesus Christ. He's a mutant.
Amen.
Oh.
Hey everybody, I'm Dane Holland, and I'm ready for a playcation.
I'm Austin Shazam Pfeiffer, and the boats are in.
I'm Marcus, the wannabe strategist, known as IamELECTRICman.
I'm Austin Tiny Zent, and it's just going to be a real happy, slappy, fun time in this bish.
So get your pen pens ready for Nerd It Through the Grapevine, the podcast where four best friends gather weekly to talk about our favorite parts of past, present, and future nerd culture.
My favorite thing to watch on YouTube for a long time is unfortunately part of past nerd culture at this point. The last video they had released did not get that many views. They had gone to a different art style that wasn't really as cool as the rest of the stuff they'd released, but they're going to be forever in my heart. And that spot in my heart belongs to Super Power Beatdown. That's a YouTube series that has been started, several years ago by a production company called Bat in the Sun. And Bat in the Sun is a fan film company that started making Batman stuff. A lot of people have seen the fan film that they've made of Batman versus Predator. And it was very cool. The actor that plays Batman in their Batman-related films his name is Kevin Porter, and Kevin Porter is a very good Batman. I mean, the guy is like 6'4". He's like 260 pounds, just jacked, and he's actually not bad at playing like a darker, not so razor blades Batman. It's so. But Superpower Beatdown has done a lot of cool stuff. And in nerd culture, we kind of do this ourselves. Like even my nephew. Well, not nephew. What is it? Oh, it's a cousin. He's a cousin of mine.
Well, he's very young.
It is what it is. Yeah, relative of young stature. He has a brain much like mine, and probably like a lot of y'all's whenever you were kids. He just can't focus all of the stuff that swirls around in the shitstorm that is his brain, so he just comes out with hyper quick statements, and then he doesn't expect responses back because nobody knows what he's talking about. So in a situation like that, it was on my wedding day, actually. He walks up to me and he says, "Hey, Austin, hey, who do you think will win in a contest between Darkseid and Thanos? Do you think Thanos would win even if he didn't have the Infinity Gauntlet? Do you think the Darkseid would? What if he had an anti-life equation? What do you think is going to go on with that?" And I look at this child at my wedding, and I ask him how his cake was, and then I say to him, "How many Infinity Stones?" He has never been presented with that as an option because he comes off with this statement. Most people shrug him off because he's not surrounded enough by nerds like us. He was presented with that statement and his mind was blown temporarily, so he ran off with his arms behind his back.
The Naruto run?
He did. He Naruto ran at my wedding, and it was a very good memory from that day. Superpower Beatdown took these what-if kind of situations out of the brain of a kid like that, and they left it up to fans and a voting system to decide who actually was the victor between the two. And they got really close on a bunch of them and gave them alternate endings to where you could actually see what it would be like if the other one prevailed. So let me read off a little bit of a list here so you guys can. The first thing they ever released was all the Batmobiles throughout the generations racing, and it was just Batmobiles racing. That was their first video they put on YouTube.
And who's won?
Huh?
Who won?
Well, I could look it up.
Oh, well.
I mean, this is important information that we have to know.
Let me look it up.
See, I would want for the animated series one to win
I want the Val Kilmer one to
at
win.
that time, but you haven't seen the Batman's version either.
True.
That's a scary car.
And it's my favorite car chase scene in a movie ever.
Nice.
And car chase scenes can be very boring.
And this is most definitely not my favorite of the videos. It is their first. It does have 5.5 million views on YouTube.
It's pretty good.
yeah, rookie numbers, but not bad.
From 10 years ago, though, so it's had plenty of time to marinate. Because, I mean, and I can go on into further detail about the different episodes while this is loading up, so I can fast forward to the end of it, but we've got Darth Vader versus Gandalf. Batman versus Wolverine.
You're doing weird things to my brain right now.
Yeah, because what you initially do in your brain is you go, oh, well, they would win. And then your brain immediately starts to go, but wait, what?
Yeah, I'm stuck on the first one.
But what if?
Gandalf versus Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Batman versus Deadpool. They have a lot of Batman stuff. They're Bat in the
they
Sun.
do.
It's
Yeah.
Batman fan fiction they started with. They stay true to what they were, what they were there for in the first place. But turns out there was no true winner in the Super Power Beatdown episode of the Batmobiles racing, just because
Ran out of gas.
It wasn't actually a race between all of them. It was just, which car is faster off the jump kind of thing. And they did multiple ones like that. Okay. But the thing is that brought me to the series, aside from watching the Batman fan films they had made, was when they released the White Ranger versus Scorpion.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
I was thinking that one in my head.
And
let's go.
And the White Ranger versus Scorpion. I mean, it all sounded too good to be true while you're watching it, because as a Power Rangers fan as a child, when Tommy is and you hear this the voice coming from the White Ranger, you're like, oh, that's cool. Maybe Tommy did some voice work. Get to the end of the episode, and the White Ranger prevails, takes off his helmet, and it is Jason David Frank, and he partnered with them from then on.
Yes.
That's so cool.
And that's what their latest project they're working on with them is. That's why they're not doing any Super Power Beatdowns, because they're actually making a fan-funded, full-length feature film.
Wow, that's alliteration.
Based on an alternate universe Power Rangers timeline.
Yeah, isn't it called like Fractured Grid or something like that?
That's a different one. That was actually in a comic book. But the one that they're doing is called, come on, brain. Come on, Legend of the White Dragon.
Let's go.
So it's where the two powers, instead of one becoming nullified and the other taking over, it can become combined.
Yes, because that was in comics as well.
Yes.
That alternate universe.
Lord Draken.
Power Rangers alternate universe?
Yes, in a comic books.
Yep. Dude, the comics are pretty cool. The artwork's incredible.
Well, let me go on with this list a little bit, though, because they have some fun ones, like Captain America versus Master Chief. And then they did another one of that with an alternate ending, just because the fan votes were so close on it. Now, Batman versus Darth Vader, that one was
That
really
is a cool idea.
that was a real
that
good
one was so good that it even deserved its own alternate ending as well, and it got one.
I've got to see how Batman takes down Vader, though.
Yeah.
Now that you've planted this in my brain
Epically.
and that it actually exists, I have to watch it.
It's a wormhole of these videos because they're all like, you've played this out in your brain, and then now you get to see it on the screen.
And then they did another one. Yes, Marcus? You
Are
raised
they
your hand?
live? Are these live action?
Yes, these are real
Yes.
actors
Oh, that's
playing
so
it.
cool.
And then they had another one with Jason David Frank that brought a brand new custom-made design to the Green Ranger outfit when he got into a supreme power within his power-ups as the Green Ranger. So he was there again fighting Ryu from Street Fighter, and Ryu got his dark power-ups. He was doing all of his moves. I mean, it was awesome. The alternate ending to that I watched, because if the Green Ranger was defeated, which he wasn't in the original, the Green Ranger would have been avenged, and then Johnny Young Bosch, Adam, the Black Ranger, shows up
What?
and challenges Ryu to a fight. I mean, they don't pull their punches on fan service for this kind of stuff. I mean, they absolutely know what you're asking for. Spider-Man versus Darth Maul.
My God.
And Spider-Man is getting, and I've watched all of these, but at one point during the Spider-Man versus Darth Maul, you're thinking like, oh man, you know, if he just had the black suit, you know, he'd have the power up from the symbiote. You know, Darth Maul would have a little bit of a bigger fight on his hands. And what the f do you think happens?
I think he probably cuts him in half, is what I'm guessing.
He gets the symbiote.
Maul does?
And then Spider-Man gets the symbiote back, but that's the fight that they have going on. Like the symbiote tries to assimilate Maul, and Maul like fights it back.
That's cool.
With the Force.
Then Boba Fett versus Star-Lord. The Joker versus Negan. And I think his name's Shekti, or I think that's the way you pronounce his name. It's Aaron Shekti, I think is the way. Anyway, he plays the Joker.
He does so good as the
He's
Joker.
great at it.
So good.
His facial manipulation, and he does it all the time, just like you do your angry Wolverine face, Marcus. He does the same thing for a full deformity of his face through the manipulation of his muscles to make the Joker face. And it is awesome. And the very last video that didn't get as many views as the rest of them, Godzilla versus the Dragon Zord.
Nice.
Imagine being just this little fan-made movie, little production company on YouTube, and then all of a sudden the Power Rangers show up to work with you. Like they agree to work with you. That's incredible. That's a dream that you get to make come true.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jason David Frank, the Tommy, he's very amenable to his fans. Like, and not only that, but if he agrees with the reason you're doing stuff and why you're doing stuff, he'll hop on with you. Like, he doesn't have a problem with that, because not only does he realize that it's the fans that have gotten him to where he is, it's also his job to maintain that. And he does fantastic.
I feel like if, let's just say, Jason David Frank shows up tonight to record the podcast with us, I feel like that I'm pretty sure I'd fangirl a little bit, probably say something dumb like, Are you morphin time or something? Because as we all know, I do have a reputation of being dumb around famous people.
Tommy looks directly into his eyes and he says,
Hell
No.
yeah, brother.
I think I'd be crushed.
"We're morphin time."
Yes.
Did you bring a versus for us to decide that wasn't on that list?
No.
Make
I'm
one up right
sorry.
now.
It's a perfect idea.
Oh, gosh.
It's
I'm
a
still
perfect
reeling.
idea.
Close
Because
your
that's the
eyes.
thing that I was thinking about, because there's a lot of these in there that are worth discussion, and I figured the Gandalf versus Darth Vader would be something that Marcus would have a mental snap over trying to conceive.
Will you talk about this, because that is a really good one.
It just changes
Like,
the whole game.
Yeah,
I mean,
wanna hear
because
what you bring.
Gandalf didn't even pick up a sword for thousands of years until he like is on the journey with Bilbo.
Right.
So it's like he's not really a fighter at all.
Then you explain to me how that man managed to defeat the Balrog.
Well, he. I guess he
Epically.
is. Yeah, well, because he's a higher being. I mean, he's
Yeah.
almost like an angel, if you
Yeah.
will. So yeah, I don't know. That'd be an interesting because once you're outside of Middle Earth and you're in the galaxy far, far away, all the rules are different.
So you mean like an outer Earth?
Sure.
So Middle Earth and Outer Earth.
Yeah, or
Like, this is all-
exterior Earth,
So space?
Yonder Earth.
yonder.
The thing that I was wondering about was why I skipped over this one. It was on the list and I just didn't read it. Maybe it was because it was Superman versus Thor. And I kind of, I wanted both outcomes for that.
It's hard to put bias aside when deciding these things, because we have our heart's heroes. And it's hard to pick one.
Yeah.
God,
But then once I
I mean-
recognize my bias, I kind of just want the villain to win.
Right.
But at the same time, who's going to be the villain in this whole situation? You, for rooting against one of your favorite characters after they get slaughtered in front of you.
I'm a true unbiased observer when it comes to these things.
Call him a voyeur.
The first thing you texted us was Batman would win no matter what.
Well, I mean, he's the world's greatest detective, so obviously he would win.
Got space wizards with laser swords,
and Batman would win. He would detect their weaknesses, exploit them, and viciously slaughter them.
You know, the thing that I like the most about the Darth Vader versus Batman video was that Batman brought up lightsaber.
Well, yeah, he has technology. He can make things.
I mean,
the bat saber.
Like, I didn't care. I was thinking, like, man, I wonder if they're gonna have a light. Clean me. But it was fantastic. And if you've never watched them, you really need to watch Super Power Beatdown. You know, it's something that I think we as nerds should all appreciate just for what they brought to us. And that's scenarios we'd never see play out in real life if it wasn't for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, Marcus, who would win, Gandalf or Vader?
I think Vader would strike Gandalf the Grey down, and then Gandalf the Grey would come back to avenge himself.
As Gandalf the White?
Yes.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Yep.
You know, because he gets that strike down much like Obi-Wan.
Right.
Spoilers.
Oh, no.
I have a random question regarding Gandalf.
Oh, gosh.
Because, like we had discussed, I recently began reading Lord of the Rings. Mm-hmm. Did Gandalf start off as Gandalf the Black?
No.
Because he, black, and then gray, then white.
Do his clothes slowly fade over the years?
Yeah. The White Wizard is almost think of it as an office. It's almost like you are in office as the White Wizard. The White Wizard's the one that's supposed to kind of be the head of the other wizards.
So people come inside me and do business?
Yes.
I hate the idea that you just said what you said, Marcus, because as soon as you said, imagine the White Wizard being like, and I heard The Office. And all I heard was bingo bing, bingo bingo bing, bidoo ding ding dee doo ding, and you see Christopher Lee just sitting in the seat.
Well, what a great show that would be! Just Sauron's office, but just do it like The Office,
like world's best wizard mug. On
the Are they eating rats again?
Then you get Toby that comes in there, and Toby comes in and he says, "Do you know what it's like to hear a man breathe his final breath from being stabbed in the back? I do." And then he leaves.
Is that an Office deep cut?
Oh, no, that's a Christopher Lee deep cut.
Christopher Lee deep cut? From what?
From Lord of the Rings.
He says that?
No, it was actually on set whenever they were asking him, Peter Jackson was asking him to portray the man being stabbed in the back. How he would sound being stabbed in the back, and he wanted him to make a certain sound, and Christopher Lee actually used to be in the British Secret Service. So he's
been stabbed in the back.
He's stabbed people in the back.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh boy!
He said, and he asked him. He said, "Do you know the sound that a person makes when they're being stabbed in the back?" Because I do.
That's scary.
Yeah,
he was a real dude, man. I mean,
see, I didn't know that about him. I knew he'd released like metal albums, like Christmassy ones and stuff.
They weren't Christmassy. They were.
He did do a metal Christmas one, and it was amazing.
He did a lot of work with the band Rhapsody.
And wasn't he knighted?
Yes,
I thought so.
Yes.
And so you didn't add his title?
Sir, I'm sorry. I'm American. I forget things.
You put respect on that man's name.
Sir Christopher Lee.
I mean, somebody might come slap you or something.
I hope not. I know what the sound that a man makes when he's getting slapped is. Will Smith just knocked the shit out
of course he made it. Of course he made it. Oh. Well, do you know what's going to Chris rock your world? The fact that PlayStation is getting their own subscription-based gaming service that's not PlayStation Plus or PlayStation Now. It's a combination of the two.
PlayStation Plus now?
PlayStation Plus right now.
Oh.
No, it's called PlayStation Plus.
Smack that mouth.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, do it. Yeah, Daddy.
Haven't done that in a while.
PlayStation Plus Essential, PlayStation Plus Extra, and PlayStation Plus Premium. Very hard to say with my mouth at the moment. Maybe it's because I smacked it way too hard. But what this is Sony's attempt at doing basically what Xbox has done with Game Pass. And Xbox's Game Pass is available for both the PC and for the Xbox, because Microsoft is all about both. And it is, Xbox Game Pass is basically the Netflix of gaming right now, is basically what everyone calls it. And they have over 25 million subscribers already for Game Pass, and it's not been out for over a few years now.
See, I thought GameFly would have been the winner.
GameFly, yeah. They took, for those of you who don't know, GameFly, back in the day, they would mail you a video game, and you would play the video game, and you would mail the video game back, and they'd send you another video game.
If anybody think that's a way to go bankrupt, you right.
Well, I mean, that's how Netflix started, with DVDs, and they did games at one point, and then they phased out the games, and now it's all streaming. Man.
See, Netflix did it the right way, though, because they got your credit card information, and if you kept the video, you paid for the full price of what they were going to be able to make out of that video that quarter. Mm-hmm. They got you.
Or twice as much as what it was actually worth. And Nintendo Switch also has their own little online service as well. And it's just like $4 a month, super cheap. There's some old classic Nintendo and Super Nintendo games on it. And they have like save states. And plus you get access to, for different things, for different games, like Animal Crossing. You can actually do things to where you interact with, other players online. But they don't even have a chat. Like, Nintendo doesn't have a chat system on the Nintendo. You have to get the Nintendo app on your phone and use that to, like, party chat with friends. It's really annoying.
That's dumb.
It's really dumb.
Why don't they just go ahead and just say, hey, give me your phone number.
Yeah.
Let's use our phones.
Or they can hop on the Discord.
Yeah, exactly. If you're playing Switch together, do that.
Yeah, we have a Discord that you can possibly do that on.
Nintendo is kind of known for being outdated on a lot of their things, because what they do really well, but then they also have some things to where it's like, come on, man, we're in the 2000s now and you still don't have a party chat on your system. But they're coming out with something new.
The 2000s.
It is the 2000s, Marcus.
It's the 2020s, though.
No, it's the 2000s.
Okay.
I lived through the 90s, and I experienced a year and a half of the 80s, a year and a half of a month of the 80s. And Nintendo's actually coming out with a $50 a year expansion for their online service, to where you get even more classic games from a bunch of different systems. And they bring out a new game, like, I think every month or so, or whatever, which sounds kind of cool, but $50 to play some emulations of some really old games that you're probably actually not going to play very often.
That's why I just run emulators on a little emulation device.
Exactly.
ROMs are free. It's awesome.
Free and illegal. Although, I also have a pirate hat. So...
I love nautical editions of things.
Did you put your ROMs inside of me treasure chest? Don't crush me protein powders.
The GNC pirate is back. PlayStation Now has been around for a long time, and what they do every month for a fee of like $10 a month, I think, is what PlayStation...
It's 12?
No, wait. PlayStation Plus is $10 a month, right? 10 or 12? Something like that?
The yellow triangle or the yellow plus?
Plus.
Yeah. I think so.
But it's been around for a while. And every month you get 2 free games that you get to download in the system. I don't believe you get to play those games once you no longer have PlayStation Plus.
It does take them away from you, but once you activate it back, then you get it back.
Play them again.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And you also get like discounts on different games and things like that. And PlayStation Now is where you can do like cloud gaming for old games, I believe, is how they do that.
Like Cumulus versus Cirrus Clouds?
Yes, exactly.
What do you mean? What do you mean by, like, how would it work with
cloud-based gaming? Means it doesn't download the game onto your system. You're playing the game through basically a magic link, to PlayStation.
Oh, you're playing it on a server. basically.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Which Switch does the same thing, but with titles that you actually buy. Like a game called Control is played through basically cloud. Yeah, it's a cloud stream of the game that you play, and pretty much if you don't have a good internet connection, it's terrible because it's really demanding. It's so demanding that they can't play it locally on the Switch. They have to do it in this emulation version of it.
I think that's
weird.
I think that's my one complaint about Nintendo. They make things later than everybody,
right?
But then charge you out the ass for it.
And they suck at what they make.
Well, what they make is wonderful. The titles that they are still trying to give you for $40 that have been out for 12 years, that's where we have a problem. Because where they've got, whenever they make something like Mario Odyssey or the Breath of the Wild, and things like Smash Brothers and Mario Party, all this stuff like that, like they do great with their first party titles, but when it comes to third party titles, that's where it starts to get a little weird with the way they perform because it's not the best. But anyway, back to PlayStation. They actually beat Microsoft to the chase when it comes to the cloud-based gaming and the kind of this game service deal with PlayStation Now, because that was one of the first things that you could do digitally to where you play classic games. So what PlayStation has done now, since Microsoft is on the rise as far as this service goes, they've basically combined PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now together. And the Plus Essential version of it is it's basically the same thing as PlayStation Plus. Like, there's not much difference. They just renamed it. PS Plus Extra is just $5 more a month, and you can download up to 400 PlayStation 4 and PS5 games. And whenever it launches, which is going to be within the next few months, you get like Spider-Man that we have, Spider-Man Miles Morales, and Returnal is a newer game that was really popular when it first came out, but I haven't heard anything about it since. And those games will be there at launch of the service
for just $5 more than you already pay.
Then you already pay, right?
That's not so bad.
You get access to a lot more. That's a
like
lot
a
of
huge
games.
library.
It's a huge library, yes. And the premium version of it is $18 a month, and that has the cloud catalog of PS1, PS2, PS3, and PSP games. And we all know all the PSP games that we all love so much. But they... And a lot of that is cloud gaming, but some of it is also downloading. But what's crazy about the PS2 portion of this, I think it has to be cloud gaming, because the PS2, the chipset was so complex that it's like famously difficult to emulate. Like, it takes apparently a really high-end computer to be able to emulate PlayStation 2 games because of how... it's not even really like crazy complicated, but it's just so weird how they combined all their different formulae to make the games happen on that system. I don't know. It's all just a different language to me when I'm reading a lot of it, but apparently it's famous for that, which I thought was crazy. That I'd never heard that before.
Me neither.
This.
I was going to say, can we for just 1 second reflect on how far we've come in this? Because I remember being a young lad, and some of our listeners probably don't remember. You go to the Blockbuster and you have to rent the console because your parents aren't rich. They ain't got $4 million to buy you that.
Hell, you got to be rich to rent the thing.
I mean, true. That's why my parents never did it, but my friends' parents did.
Your rich friend.
And the first time they did it, they rented the console, and that was it. They didn't know you had to rent a game too. So we get it back, hook it up to the TV, and it boots up, and then nothing happens, and you're like, what's going on? And then you call Blockbuster, and you're like, hey, I think y'all gave us a defective PlayStation. And they said, did you rent a game too? And they said, no. That was my first experience with a PlayStation.
That was two children crying in a room together.
Yeah. We looked at each other, and I was like, your mom sucks.
What's really cool about Game Pass is whenever a new game comes out for Xbox now, if it's from a company that they have acquired, and it is a Microsoft company, they have it on Game Pass at release, to where you can just play it. So Halo Infinite, which people have been waiting for many years, it came out day one on Game Pass, where you can play it. And also the newest Forza game, Forza Horizons 5, as a very like highly regarded racing game, like open world kind of sandboxy racing game. It was day one. And the thing is, PlayStation's not going to do that.
You wouldn't think, yeah.
No, the reason they're not is because their games sell. Microsoft has an issue selling their games for Xbox, because when you look at the sales differences between what Xbox can do and what PlayStation does with their games, PlayStation's just so far ahead that they're copying the model, but they're not copying it exactly, because they're like, we're going to lose money on this, where I think Microsoft has yet to gain profit off of Game Pass, but I think within the next year or so is when profits start to come, and it's going to come hard.
Yeah, well, it just makes me think of, like, if you were to, like, Elden Ring came out, and if you were to just let people play that day one for just the standard monthly payment, it seems like the company wouldn't have done as well. Like, From Software wouldn't have made as much money as they did.
Right.
I don't know. It's weird.
See, that's where with Microsoft owning these companies that they're doing that with, it's Microsoft money.
Yeah.
So if you're under the umbrella of Microsoft, you're getting paid no matter what.
Right. So it's kind of like Netflix now. They're just trying to get as much out there as they can because somebody's going to watch it.
Yeah.
And they subscribe to us to have a selection, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's
crazy.
That's exactly where gaming's going. I mean, and they saw basically what everyone's doing with shows and movies and said, why not? So let's just do this. And it's been insanely successful.
Maybe pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think try stuff you wouldn't necessarily go shell out $60 for.
Exactly. And that's something else they're going to have is demos that you can do. I believe it. I know with the premium version of it, you get to do these demos of games to where there's time limited trials that you can play games. So you don't go out. And I think new games now are $70 instead of $60 for PS5.
Damn.
I know AAA titles that are,
yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, I think they're $70
plus,
now.
You got the gold edition and
all that. But that will be a good way to do these demos, which we remember as kids, like going to Pizza Hut and getting the demo disc for the PlayStation 1.
Crash Bandicoot.
Bingo. And Tomb Raider.
Yep.
And yeah, it's just, I think it's of course they're going to do it. I mean, whenever you see one system have such success with a certain format, the other systems are going to try to catch up however they can. Nintendo will never catch up because they don't care. They're just like, it doesn't matter. You're going to buy a Nintendo anyway. It doesn't matter. You're going to play our games. We don't have to give you much. We'll give you little tastes of things, and you'll beg for it for years, and we'll eventually get you there. But the last thing is the backwards compatibility situation with Xbox. Xbox can play Xbox games and like previous Xbox games. Like it can play all of them on the new one. You could just put it in, you could play it. But PlayStation backwards compatibility is pretty much non-existent.
Correct.
So I think you can still play.
But that's going to change now. I mean, well, I guess you're not going to be able to still put the disc in.
Right. It's with the service.
Yeah,
So with the service, you get your backwards compatibility, but not all games, of course, are going to be in that list of 400 or whatever. But there's going to be a lot, and probably
just going to keep adding as the years go on, I'm sure.
Yeah, they'll have to if they want the service to continue, because that's something also with Game Pass. Every, I don't know, month or so, they're trying to get a new game on there for you to play, and sometimes they'll rotate out, but I believe they're on there for long enough for everybody to really enjoy. And plus, if you love it, you can buy it after that, and probably by the time they take it off Game Pass, the price is probably discounted too, because it's been out for a while. So the new age of gaming is the subscription service, and until they get greedy with it, I think it's very successful. I think it's going to be great for people to be able to do that, because people that can't go out and buy 400 games, they can still experience 400 games for, less than $20 a month.
Are these remastered versions?
Some of them may be. I'm not sure.
Because I think that would be soul-crushing to a lot of people if they have fond memories of games such as like Final Fantasy VIII that, introduced you to that really good cutscene, graphic imagery that they've got. And I'm not talking like it's graphic images you got to see them, like just the graphics they use.
Yes.
But imagine seeing those graphics that you remember being so good on a high frame rate television like we have these days, and you're like, yeah. Oh, that's not as good as I remember it.
Last time I played GoldenEye, I almost threw up.
Oh, it's sick, dude.
It's hard. It's very hard.
I couldn't imagine playing Perfect Dark.
But you won't have to imagine for much longer because
We were
I think
desperate
you'll be able to
little-
play it on PlayStation.
We were desperate little boogers back then, weren't we?
Well, plus our tube TVs that showed up differently.
Yeah.
So, because I've seen like character images from Final Fantasy VII, like just their little portrait on a tube TV and on like a 4K image.
Yeah.
And it's like smoothed out on the tube TV, but on the 4K when you see pixels. So it actually did look better back then. Like we're not imagining it. We are to a degree,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah.
Because a pixelated skeleton, to us back then, oh my gosh, it looks like a real one. But it really did look better than it does now.
Oh.
So if you have a PlayStation lying around, soon you'll be able to play a bunch of games that you played when you were younger or didn't get the chance to play because maybe you're young now and going and buying a PlayStation 2 is not as easy to do. So I'm excited about that for them.
Well, I hope that they put some RTS, even though RTS games are not notoriously great on consoles, I would like to see them try to make some of those work on this little Game Pass thing so that I can just try some out because I've been dying to play an RTS game for years now. And for those of you who don't know, real-time strategy is what RTS stands for. And so what I mean by RTS, or at least I guess what I'm looking for when I say RTS is like a game where you kind of have control over many units that are building a base, so you like kind of a tower defense type thing. You build walls, you build like a stable for your horses, and you kind of grow up this force to fight the AI or the other player or whatever it is. But the ones that I kind of look for are more sometimes, like I said, I want more of that kind of action-y feel. Mm-hmm. So like I like it when you build your base and you make your units and you just fight. I mean, honestly, I'm not super into this genre. I have played some of the bigger titles, but really my idea of playing one is just like one big giant attack. Like, there's not much strategy involved with the way I play. I just want to build my army and then destroy all of your buildings. That's really just all I want to do.
There is a much easier version of these style games called tower defense games. Mm-hmm. To where it's a lot simpler of an idea. Most of the time they're maze-based. And the maze-based game that I played the most that was real-time strategy was something that I played not only one or two, but three different iterations of, was called Balloons.
Say that one more time.
Balloons?
Balloons, yeah. They were balloons, B-A, but it's spelled balloons, B-L-O-O-N-S. And basically, you were monkeys throwing darts and trying to pop these balloons. And it started off really slow, and your monkeys would throw really slow. Then you'd gradually upgrade them to throw quicker. Then you'd get better monkeys that threw better darts. And then you'd be able to get...
I'm so sick of these old monkeys. They throw so slow. Kill them.
You'd be able to upgrade to different monkeys holding manning catapults that would throw giant spike balls to pop all these balloons. And then the balloons would get tougher. They'd start being made out of lead. They'd start being, multicolored that you had to hit them until all the colors faded. It got to be very complicated. Go ahead, Tiny.
Was there a Zeppelin on that level?
There was a Zeppelin at one point on one of those levels.
Was it a Led Zeppelin?
That was one of the hardest ones to actually face was the Led Zeppelin.
And so this is a strategy game?
It is because
what's the strategy?
The strategy is specifically placing your monkeys around the board to where they're throwing the darts in the right timing to be able to actually do enough damage to all these balloons once they become just massively insane.
I feel like that's a good analogy for our lives. It's just we're just a bunch of monkeys throwing darts at balloons, man.
Yeah.
That's
sometimes you hit one, sometimes you don't.
The best one was the super monkey. He was wearing a blue suit and had a full Superman getup happening, including a face mask like a luchador.
It sounds like you're kind of RTS.
And
if it's considered that,
I don't know. There's so many RTS that the genre does kind of start to get kind of blurry to me because that's why I kind of was trying to paraphrase. Like what I mean by RTS is more of like the army building type stuff. But like you said, Austin, I mean the genre continues to grow. I mean there's all kinds of what you would call a real time strategy game. But I'm kind of biased. Like the games I'm interested in typically are more realistic graphics, little bit more gritty art style. So that's just me. But I mean, like, I remember doing Clash of Clans at one point, and maybe we'll talk about how mobile, in my opinion, has kind of ruined the RTS. But the first RTS I ever played was Command and Conquer's Red Alert 2. And this was a long time ago. I just would go to my friend's house. He had this computer in their little den, and we would get on there and just fight each other and build these huge armies. So basically, Westwood Studios is who made Command and Conquer. They also made a game called Dune 2. I'm a big Dune fan, so I liked this piece of information, and I wanted to share it. But it actually kind of was pretty critically acclaimed and kind of set the standard and laid the foundation for franchises like Age of Empires, which is a huge RTS franchise, Command and Conquer, because this was before they made Command and Conquer. They've made tons of RTS. That's what they're known for. And Warcraft actually started out as RTS style before it made billions of dollars by going MMO. They were like one of the first big MMOs. So I thought that was an interesting little tidbit.
I know that they have released a RTS based around Warhammer 40K, which for those of you that don't know, Warhammer 40K is a tabletop RTS.
You really just trying to take things off my notes? And
it was there.
Yeah, no, Warhammer is one of the ones I really want to play. So I was going to talk about when I get to that. So when I want to play it,
it's pretty cool.
Well, because I'm not familiar with the Warhammer world or the Warcraft world, for that matter.
What? Get it?
Yeah, Daddy.
But it's right up my alley. High fantasy, dark, brutal. It's awesome.
Metal.
Yeah, but yeah, Warhammer, because it's actually a Total War franchise. So Total War makes all kinds of RTS games, but they seem, like I said, I've never played any of these games, but I've watched little bits of gameplay on YouTube and whatnot, but they just look so fun. But the Total War, they seem to be less emphasis on actually building your base. Like, I don't even think you build a base. I think you build your army, you decide what units you're going to bring to a particular battlefield, and then you meet the other army on the field, and it's all about battle tactics and, like, flanking certain units with other units, and just that's the strategy. It's like, what can I do to win this battle?
In Warhammer, it's such a popular game that one of our most famous nerds, who is one of our tribe, Mr. Henry Cavill, was on the Graham Norton show. I don't know if you guys have ever seen any clips and stuff from that. He was actually talking to him about Warhammer.
Oh yeah,
he's like
the tabletop version,
yeah,
though, right?
Yeah, and he said so once you get those little players and you get those little figurines, what do you do with them? And Cavill's like, well, we paint them. Well, once you paint them, what are they, just decoration? No, we play with them. What's the strategy of the game for my figurine to beat your figurine? And he just explained it, and then Cavill starts laughing because he realizes, like, oh, okay, I need to tell him a little bit better because they're not. I think it's way simple, but they're like, oh,
yeah. You mean you just smash them into each other like I did when I was kids? And
you have to use your imagination.
Yeah. No, it's like there's actually no rhyme or reason to it at all. It's completely pointless and meaningless.
And did that encourage your role in The Witcher?
So hold on, just back to Red Alert 2 for a minute, because my friend actually ended up giving me this game, and I was like, oh my God. And so I played it all the time. So the story of Red Alert 2, I just thought this was an interesting tidbit as well. Einstein travels back in time and sees Hitler and shakes his hand, therefore deleting him from the timeline, creating this whole new alternate timeline with this whole new alternate World War II, where the Soviet Union, is like really powerful, and that takes over half the world. So I don't know. I just thought that was a cool little tidbit.
Wow.
So it's like super sci-fi.
Yeah.
But then my Battle for Middle Earth 1 and 2, of course, even if I didn't like RTS games already, I was going to play these. And actually, even though they were kind of licensed along with EA's license for the movie games, were awesome. Like, they got really, really high reviews and kind of even innovated the genre a little bit with, like, adding heroes to your units and things like that. I'm not that versed in the genre, so I'm sure this isn't just Battle for Middle Earth, but you could, like, your units would upgrade based on their experience, and so that's just cool. And there's actually a current revival project, because these are so hard to get copies of Battle for Middle-earth, because EA has lost their license by now, but it's called Battle for Middle-earth Reforged. And these people are, team of modders are like painstakingly recreating this game and actually giving it this feature to where once you've started this huge, massive battle, you can kind of just zoom in. You can pick a unit and zoom into his perspective. And so you can be just boots on the ground while all this is going on.
Oh, that's cool.
That's
so
really cool.
Whenever that comes out, I might have to find a way to get that.
For those that don't know like anything about RTS, like, you don't actually control individual characters in the game. Like, you are kind of the god of this world, and you're influencing like groups of things to move along, or like a warlord, basically, and doing that as well.
You're basically utilizing, like in Age of Empires, it's like more of a historical genre. So you're playing, with armies of the past, like the Roman army and, England in the 1600s or whatever. And you're kind of just taking on more of the role of, like, you're using the resources of an entire nation to combat other nations. So it's a much more like macro managed kind of thing. But I've kind of, in my reading, fans of the genre kind of prefer to kind of balance the micro and the macro. Like, and that's what really makes a good RTS, is like when the small things make a difference and the big things make a big difference. And it just gives you like variety of gameplay and things like that. So yeah, Crusader Kings is another one. And it is different because this is one of the only ones that I've been kind of interested in that you don't actually like see the battles happening, but it's more of like a story kind of based game where you take on one person and you're trying to kind of lead your dynasty through the millennia, through the hundreds and hundreds of years. And so like your family drama, your economic hardships, military, political, and religious affairs all kind of come into play, and the game will alert you like, you better find somebody to marry your daughter, like it's medieval laws and stuff. So it's just awesome. I mean, it kind of gives you that political intrigue that, people like me crave in the wake of like Game of Thrones and things. And there is a really awesome mod for Crusader Kings, which puts you in the world of Westeros. And they've got the map, and you can pick which area of history you want to start from. You can start from Aegon's conquest and go all the way, all 300 years of the Targaryen's reign, and shake things up and change it.
That's incredible.
And what game was that?
Crusader Kings.
I might have to check that out. That sounds really cool.
It looks really cool. It looks pretty complex, because I've never had my hands on it. But yeah, I want to do that mod for sure.
If you like Risk, the board game,
yes, much like
look
Risk.
into RTSs for video games, because
especially Crusader Kings, because that's like kind of takes that and goes 10 times further.
And balloons.
And balloons, yes.
And balloons, yeah. well, we should talk about that, because like I said, I'm biased to like the more gritty or maybe even more historical fantasy type stuff.
I did play one called Plague. You start off, you make a disease, and your whole goal is to kill the entire planet. It's actually really fun.
I mean, just the fact that like I want to make war on these peasants, like why do I want to do that? Because it's fun. That's why. And it's not really hurting anyone. There is also that caveat. But some of the mobile games like Clash and stuff were fun for a while, but I would get sick of waiting on things to happen.
Yeah.
Then you could just pay to speed it up.
Exactly. Yeah. and yeah, to me, that's just
once you start putting microtransactions into an RTS game, that is a money pit that you
at
will
every
not find yourself getting
single
out of.
like menu option, like everything. It's sickening. It's gross. Yeah. Terrible.
Have you ever heard of Raid Shadow Legends?
I decided not to talk about that one because that did come up in the lists.
Yeah, that's terrible. So, I'm going to be a little bit of a Debbie Downer, but then I'm going to pick it back up because
thank you. That's usually my role. I'm usually the Debbie Downer.
See, we all like parties, right?
I'm partying right now.
Exactly. Like birthday parties are all about you, but what is the one party that no one can steal from you? Your
funeral. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
That is your last party. So,
but you don't get to attend.
You're there,
Not
ish. But it's all about you. So what we're going to do today, gentlemen, we're going to plan our death day parties.
We're gonna die.
What cool thing that's abnormal, because we're all just dumb, are you going to have at your funeral?
I've plotted this for years, honestly.
This is not a good thing.
It's not necessarily that I've plotted it because I seek my own demise,
Okay,
but I
good.
want an alternative to my end.
Right.
You know, like I don't want to have an actual, like, in a funeral home funeral. I feel like a lot of that stuff is just, it's a money racket because they know you got to do it. I mean, average cost for insurance to pay for a funeral is $10,000 on a funeral. It's absolutely crazy. I would love to go on a pyre.
Oh,
Ooh,
yeah.
Viking style.
Viking style on a pyre.
I think that's illegal nowadays.
Who's going to stop us?
Yeah. I mean, what are they going to do?
Arrest the dead guy?
me?
Just say it's your
Fine
religion.
your already grieving family.
Just
Yeah.
say it's your religion.
I'm sure
What
I've
are
got.
they gonna say?
I've got
sure.
Nordic roots somewhere in there. Look at this beard. But if I was to do that, and I would get my way, and I would have my Viking funeral pyre, the way that I would make it fun is if everybody got popcorn. And the way that I did that is because I lined the bottom base of my pyre with packs of Jiffy Pop.
That's awesome.
So all you have to do is just, there will be giant rods sticking out of the fire, and once everybody sees that the Jiffy Pop's done, just yank on the rod.
Well, you have to shake it. I mean, your pallbearers, that can be their job.
That could be their job. Yeah, instead of being pallbearers, they'd be
They're
popcorn buddies.
perfect.
Yes, yeah. My popcorn buddies. They would shake my Jiffy Pop.
And we actually broke into the YMCA and shipped you off into the pool, and that's where we loosed our flaming arrow.
My
into your
old
body.
stomping grounds.
Yep.
Oh my gosh!
Perfection.
Knowing my luck, my dead body would just sink to the bottom of the deep end
And
of
you'd
it.
haunt it for the rest of time.
Oh no, that'd be awful.
It'd be like
Yeah,
that movie
I know.
Swiss Army Man, and you would just fart your way to the next continent.
Somebody would have to be pre-programmed, knowing what's going on, just for the occasion, to say, does that smell like popcorn to you? And somebody has to say, it'll be done in a jiffy.
It won't be me, because I'm going to die at the same time as you do, because that's the only way I can cope with it.
It's one of those, but
Yeah.
we're really old, so our reaction time's not as good. So
Yeah.
instead of making the turn, we just go off of the interstate into the overpass. Just,
I want my body to go missing at the funeral.
Yes.
So
Whoa.
we start off classic, right? You go up, it's going to be open casket. Open the casket, where's Dane? Oh no, he's up and gone. But that's when our friends at Homicide Worldwide get to have their live podcast. Because I want them there to announce to everyone that there's going to be a scavenger hunt to find my body.
Oh my
so I can be put to rest.
I'm so on board for this. It sounds amazing.
It's like to save your soul. Like
Yes. You must
mission
play
to
my
save
game.
Dane's soul.
Yes.
Make sure you get into Valhalla.
And it's going to be like, everything's got, all the clues have to be in the really most awkward places to where all my loved ones and family are like very confused at not really knowing who I was.
I volunteer my butthole for one of the clues.
Thank you. I actually had that as the third thing on my
Whoa.
list. I was hoping you were going to agree with it.
We put the pinky toe in there.
yes.
No, anything but that.
The big toe.
No, anything
No
but
foot stuff.
Yeah.
Don't make me say it, because I will.
No, my body's not in parts for the scavenger hunt. It's clues as to where my whole body.
Well, how do we know when we're getting close?
No,
cut
my
into
whole
pieces
body.
and hide.
Because you'll get different clues as you go on.
It's Build-A-Dane.
So I want one clue to be at a furry convention, because like I'm not part of that community, but I would love for my family to be very confused as to my lifestyle whenever they weren't around me, to go to a furry convention and be like, I don't understand. And then I want there to be like a dead, mysterious animal carcass in the woods that you have to find as well. Like when I say mysterious, I'm like I have no idea what animal this is. Like, and it cannot be identified, but I need there to be a hint inside of this. And I want that to lead to a theater that has been rented out for the day, that it is only showing the Alvin and the Chipmunks Squeakquel movie, and you must watch it to get the clue at the end of the movie after the credits. But you get the clues one letter at a time. So you're going to have to watch the movie over and over.
Oh, my God.
And over. And this will really let me see, as I float around watching, who really loves me and who gets just tired of my shit and leaves. Because Austin and I couldn't make it through half of it before we left the theater.
No. And
we went to go see.
I finished it on the TV for free.
Yeah. That was worth it.
Yeah, I was on the couch.
Kinda. But and then that's where I want it to finally lead just off into, I didn't think of where it would actually end up being. I am actually at Austin's funeral pyre. Like, I'm laying there just on the side of with my chest open, and then there's a little flag planted in my open chest that just says "Throw the heart into the fire." So then you have to chuck it into his funeral pyre. So that's how they connect.
Perfect.
All right, I'm going a little different direction here because I'm kind of just talking about, okay, you have two sides of your family, right? The maternal and the paternal. Mm-hmm. So on my mother's side of the family, they kind of your more traditional people, and they go to the funeral home and do all that and pay all that money. Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous. Right, and I think just, having went to those events and then having went to my paternal side, the Whitaker side of my family, it's just such vastly different ways that we approach these kinds of things on both sides of my family. So I just, I've had the example of my father's side of the family, and what they do is it's so much more personal. It's so much less of a hassle. You don't have to dress up. We just gather. You set up a PA system because we're all musicians, and we just sing and eat and grieve and talk, and it's just really like a family get together. But, something bad has happened. But, we got a lot of awesome musicians in my family, plus people that would come to these events are also musicians. And so it ends up being a really awesome time. And of course it gets emotional during the music and things will happen. And, but that's part of it. That's part of why we're here. But then, then something on my mom's side will happen. And we go to the funeral home and you put the suit on or whatever. There was one time where at my grandmother's funeral, there was extra people. We didn't know these people were showing up. So we asked the people, could we have a few more chairs? $50 a pop.
Are you kidding me?
$50 a pop for chairs.
Set out a chair?
A metal fold-out chair. $50 a pop.
Wait, $50 per metal folding chair?
Per metal folding chair.
What? But you don't get to own it.
No, it was just for someone that we didn't know could sit.
That stupid chair only costs like $30, maybe.
$50 a pop, man. And it just blew my mind.
That's
so it just made me say, like, I know I'm never doing it like this. Because
Nope.
we don't do funeral homes on my dad's side.
Yeah.
My grandmother on my dad's side, they went and found an Amish community to make her a casket. And they measured her before she was even dead.
That's actually perfect, because if you were to actually make your own casket, you'd have to have certain codes and guidelines to go by. But if you get one made and given to you as a gift, it's considered a family heirloom.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
Weird. Well, I know, like my mother, we got hers from the Amish community, and it was very beautiful for what it was.
Well, and plus, my grandfather on that same side, I think he kind of got burnt out on that whole system of the funeral home too, because he had actually had a son that died, and the funeral guy tried to kind of make him feel bad about which casket he was buying. He wanted him to get him a better casket. Your son would appreciate this probably more.
My son is
so
dead.
stupid.
You know what I'm saying? So he got burnt out by it too.
Yeah, you're supposed to be comforting in that kind of time.
No disrespect to people who are in that business, I guess. I mean, because I do know some people that are in that business, but it just seems so bad, so distasteful. But something much more akin to my father's side. No funeral homes, much more of a free loving party. Have a drink if you want, or just like in the legend of when they asked Mamie White, "What do you want people to do at your funeral?" I don't know, blow pop in my face.
Would you be okay? Because I am, considering I will also be laid to rest where you are, if Marcus's family gathers there to where they can have a jam sesh as we're floating out on our barge. Well, your body and my heart.
Oh, everybody pick a song. Everybody pick a song that they're going to cover.
I can't.
A whole new world, a brand new place and point of view.
Anything by Cannibal Corpse.
No one to tell us no.
Jeremiah was the fall from.
I am in a whole new world with you.
Was a good friend of mine.
And these are all playing at the same time.
Completely misunderstood the prompt because I just named one and y'all started singing one. So
Since when am I ever going to refuse a moment in time where I can sing something?
And then we'll find some pothead to blow pot in y'all's face.
Yes.
What a waste.
Mine is a little more traditional. No offense, Marcus. I was going to hire a band for mine.
Hey.
He's already taken. Sorry.
But they have to play the most metal music in the entire world because...
Well, you don't even have to hire me. I'll just do it.
Well, because my entire family hates metal because they don't understand it.
Perfect.
I can't even get the words. And so the juxtaposition of that and then just like bawling is just kind of funny to me.
Would it be acceptable to you if it was metal but also Jack Black?
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
That's a good combination.
Yeah.
Time is dead now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gonna look at his body and cry.
And so my friend Mac has agreed that he has to wear a movie quality Batman suit and crouch on the roof of the funeral home for the entirety of my funeral. He's agreed to it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, so that has to happen.
Wait, so does this make it look like Batman killed you or Batman's grieving
he's
you?
grieving.
Okay.
Like Batman was my friend, you know.
That's good. I like that.
Dang.
So my pallbearers, 2 will be wearing full plate armor, like medieval style. You know, they can, any time period in there, whatever medieval style armor that they want. It can be fantasy, like even. Two pallbearers will be clowns because a lot of my family is afraid of clowns. Yeah. See, part of this is me torturing my family one last time because my entire family, we're all trolls. So it's just, it's accurate. And the other 2 pallbearers, they're going to be like, put them in kilts and like give them Men in Black shades or something. Just whatever. They're not the important ones. It's mainly the clowns that I want.
Here come the men in plaid.
With a bagpipe background.
Yep. The 2 in armor, they have to stand there motionless for the entirety of the funeral because I want everyone to think that they're statues. And so when it's time to escort me out, that's when they move to pick me up.
As if they're already not freaked out enough by the clowns that they've seen at your funeral.
Yes.
Then the moving suits of armor will come to carry you away, along with the 2 guys with bagpipes that have flashy things on the end of them.
Yes.
I like to imagine the plot that you're going to be buried at being on the other side of the lake that we are floating out on,
Absolutely.
and one of the arrows goes, whoopsie.
I'm so on board for this.
It lights you up.
And my tombstone, this is my favorite part, maybe. On it, I want a D20 that's rolled a nat 1, and it just says, in addition to my name and dates, So
That's a good tombstone.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Here lies Tiny, who failed his death saving throw
Yep.
on this date.
They're like, well, was it a strength save or a con save? What happened? I don't know, but he's dead as f.
And this episode's done as f. Thank y'all for listening to us on Spotify and iTunes and Audacity and Castbox. I don't know. I can never name all of them because there's just an infinite amount. Wherever you're listening to us, rate us 5 stars, all of them. If it's a 3-star system, give us 5 stars anyway. And then write a description going like, hey, we love you guys because of this. And if you hate us, give us 5 stars and say, hey, we don't like them because of this. And then you can also click on the Teespring link and you can buy a t-shirt like our friends over at NightmareTown and Kevin Busby, the Grapevine Cowboy, and Tiny's got one now.
I do.
And yeah, you can join this very exclusive club of having us on your body whenever you feel like.
And if you'd like to discuss just how fast you can smack Chris Rock, all you have to do is get on our Facebook page, our Instagram page, or our Twitter page, especially our Twitter page, because there I have a link posted to the game, How Fast Can You Smack Chris Rock? This it's global. It's measured in kilometers per hour, and I got 40 kilometers per hour. I smacked him no less than 50 times to achieve that score. Let's see what you can do.
He will never say your wife's name again.
Nope, never again. You can look that up by getting on @NerdGrapevine for those websites. Or if you wanted to donate a little bit to the cause and get a shiny holographic sticker, our eternal praise, maybe a future song wrote about you, and be able to access content that we have that hasn't been displayed on the audio medium known as podcasting. You can get on.
It's just dissolved into just shake this corner.
You get on Patreon @bestfriends, Tiny Ink, and don't dissolve too far into chaos because that might actually cause you to stumble right into
an entanglement. So find us on Discord. You can tell us what hand you would use to slap Chris Rock, right or left or middle. You know, it doesn't matter. And tell us your weird stuff you want at your funeral party. There's space for that. There's space for all kinds of stuff. There's space for memes. There's space for hating on Malcolm. There's space for streaming movies, which we're going to do again soon. Hop in there. It's a happy, slappy, fun time. We're on there live, uncut, uncensored, and completely and irrevocably circumcised.
God, $50 a chair.
Pop for what? Metal
for chair.
a chair. Have a seat, my friend. Cha-ching.
Gosh, when life gives you grapes, Dane.
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be at a award ceremony, right? And I'm gonna have a bowl of grapes, and Chris Rock's gonna be up there, and he's gonna be all like, "Dane loves grapes so much, why doesn't he just marry him?" And I'm instead of slapping him, I'm gonna put all the grapes in my mouth, and I'm gonna be a grown man, and I'm gonna say, "Get my grapes out of your mouth, and don't you ever put my grapes in your mouth, don't you ever," and I'll eat my grapes.
And it turns out you were allergic to grapes the entire time.
And then I died, and then there was a scavenger hunt for my body. And then, now I'm in pieces, and I didn't know that was going to happen. Oh, no, Tiny, don't start taking me apart yet.
Chainsaw.
Don't tell me what to do.